My sister's marrying my ex-fiancé, and my parents want me to move out so they can live in my house. Screw it, I never thought I'd end up here. I guess I'm that person now, pouring out my life on the internet because it's either this or driving myself insane. Anyway, my name's Sarah, 32, female. And if you asked me a year ago, I would have told you I had a decent life. A normal life even. I mean, sure, I live in my parents' basement, and my job at the grocery store isn't exactly thrilling, but I didn't think things were that bad. Turns out I had no idea just how screwed up things could get. My family, well, where do I even begin? Let's start with my mom, Kathy. She's 60, and let's just say she's obsessed with keeping up appearances. She's the type who rearranges furniture before the mailman shows up, convinced that even the slightest imperfection in our home would somehow end up in the neighborhood gossip mill. It's exhausting. My dad, Bill, he's 65 and he's basically checked out of life. He just sits in his recliner all day, watching whatever sports game happens to be on, grunting occasionally as if that counts as conversation. It's not like he's an evil person or anything, but sometimes it feels like he's already a ghost, just lingering around, waiting for life to pass by. And then there's Amanda, my younger sister. She's 28, and if you looked up the word perfect in the dictionary, you'd probably find her photo there. Amanda is the golden child. You know the type, smart, pretty, successful, basically everything a parent could want in a daughter. She's got the career, the looks, the charm, the freaking life. And what do I have? A crummy basement apartment, a dead-end job, and the lingering taste of disappointment my parents can't seem to wash out of their mouths whenever they look at me. But here's where things get really twisted. 2 years ago, I was dating this guy, Brad. We were together for 5 years, and I thought he was the one. You know how people talk about meeting their soulmate? That's what I thought I had with Brad. We had plans, big plans, marriage, kids, the works. And then one day, he decides he's not ready for that kind of commitment. He dumped me, just like that. No warning, no real explanation. Just, I'm not ready for this. I thought I'd never recover. I spent months and days trying to pick up the pieces of my life while my family looked at me like I was some sort of sad, broken object. It was humiliating. Then, 2 months later, guess who Amanda starts dating? Yep, Brad. My Brad. The guy who couldn't commit to me was suddenly head over heels for my sister. The betrayal? It was like someone had driven a knife into my back and twisted it until I couldn't even tell which way was up anymore. And the worst part? Amanda had the audacity to ask if it was okay with me. What the hell was I supposed to say? Sure, Amanda, go ahead and build a life with the man who destroyed mine. That's totally cool. But I didn't say that. No, I mumbled something about it being fine, because that's what I do. I keep the peace. I avoid conflict. I let people walk all over me because, God forbid, I rock the boat. Fast forward to now. Amanda and Brad are engaged. Engaged. I can't even wrap my head around it. My family? They couldn't be happier. Every dinner, every conversation, it's like they've erased the fact that Brad was ever my boyfriend. He's now Amanda's perfect fiancé, the man of her dreams, and my parents are practically doing backflips with joy. They keep talking about how perfect the wedding is going to be, how Amanda deserves this, how Brad is such a good guy. Are you kidding me? Such a good guy? The guy who ripped my heart out and handed it to my sister on a silver freaking platter? Yeah, real stand-up guy, Mom. Real freaking hero. It's like I'm invisible. Like my feelings, my history, my entire existence doesn't matter. I don't even get a seat at the table anymore. And I've tried, God have I tried, to keep my mouth shut, to swallow all the pain and anger and just smile through it. But last week, I lost it. We were at dinner, and my mom starts going on about how much she's looking forward to the wedding, how it's going to be the event of the year. And then she turns to me with this condescending smile and says, "You know, Sarah, it would really mean a lot to Amanda if you help with the planning. Maybe even be a bridesmaid? It would show her that you've moved on." That was it. That was the moment I snapped. I don't even remember everything I said. All I know is that I screamed something about how Amanda had already taken everything from me, and now she wanted me to help her. I threw my plate. I'm pretty sure it shattered, but honestly, I don't care. I walked out of the house, got in my car, and drove for hours. I didn't even know where I was going. I just needed to get the hell away from them. Now, my family's acting like I'm the problem, like I'm the one who's out of control, and Amanda's the poor, innocent victim in all of this. My mom keeps telling me I need therapy, that I'm too emotional. Amanda hasn't spoken to me since the blow-up. And my dad? Well, he's just sitting in his chair, pretending none of this is happening. Classic dad. So, am I overreacting? Or is my family just completely screwed up? Update 1. Okay, so that post blew up way more than I expected. I've read through a lot of the comments, and let me just say, it feels good to know that I'm not alone in thinking this whole situation is messed up. So many of you told me to get the hell out of my parents' house. And trust me, I've been wanting to do that for years. But it's not as simple as packing up and leaving. Rent is insane where I live, and my job barely covers the bills as it is. I've been saving, but it's going to take a while before I can afford to move out on my own. In the meantime, things have gotten even worse with Amanda. After the dinner blow-up, she sent me this long-ass text trying to play the victim. She said she never meant to hurt me, and that she hopes we can still be close sisters. Can you believe that? She's engaged to the guy who dumped me, and she wants to play nice? Like we're supposed to have some kind of sisterly bonding moment over this? Yeah, no thanks. She even invited me to brunch with her and Brad so we can talk things out. I didn't respond. I'm not about to sit there sipping mimosas with the two people who've caused me more pain than I ever thought possible. What's the point? It's not like talking is going to change anything. Brad chose her. Amanda chose him. And my parents? They've chosen to pretend that none of this is a big deal. So, why should I even bother trying to make peace? Meanwhile, Mom's been doing her whole martyr act, sighing dramatically every time I walk into the room. She's acting like I've embarrassed the entire family by daring to show an emotion that isn't blind, unconditional support for Amanda. It's like she expects me to apologize for having feelings, for not being okay with my sister marrying the man I was supposed to spend my life with. And then there's Dad. The man has officially checked out of this situation. He doesn't talk about it, doesn't acknowledge it. He just watches his damn football games and grunts whenever I try to bring it up. I guess it's easier for him to ignore the drama than actually deal with it. I'm trying to save up to move out, but it's hard. Every day in this house feels like a battle, and I don't know how much longer I can hold out. The wedding is in 2 months, and honestly, I don't think I can be here when it happens. I've thought about just packing a bag and disappearing for the weekend. Maybe head to a cheap motel and just drown myself in bad TV and takeout. Anything to avoid seeing Amanda walk down the aisle with Brad, smiling like she's won some kind of prize. Because in a way, she has. She's won. She's taken everything, and I'm left with nothing but the wreckage. Update 2. I didn't think things could get worse, but I was wrong. Brad showed up at the house yesterday. He was there to drop off wedding invitations. Why he didn't just mail them like a normal person, I have no idea. Probably because he wanted to rub it in my face. He and Mom were chatting it up in the living room, talking about the guest list and the seating arrangements, and I could hear them from upstairs. It was nauseating. I could hear my mom gushing over how hands-on he was with the planning, how lucky Amanda was to have found such a thoughtful guy. I felt this surge of rage bubbling up inside me. I hadn't seen Brad in person since he dumped me, and now here he was back in my house, acting like everything was fine, like we didn't have 5 years of history that he just casually tossed in the trash. I couldn't take it anymore. I marched downstairs, grabbed the stack of invitations from his hands, and ripped them in half, right in front of him. It was impulsive, maybe even childish, but it felt good. Brad just stood there, looking at me with that stupid smirk on his face. The same smirk he used to have when we'd argue, like he always thought he was so much smarter than me. He told me, "You need to move on, Sarah. This is getting sad." Sad. That's what he said, like I was the pathetic one in this situation. Like he wasn't the one who had shattered my entire life and then moved on to my freaking sister. I could feel my hands shaking, and for a split second, I thought about hitting him. I didn't though. Instead, I just turned around and walked out of the house. I couldn't deal with him, with Amanda, with any of it. Amanda, of course, freaked out when she heard what happened. She called me, screaming about how I was ruining her special day and how I needed to get over myself. I didn't even bother engaging. I hung up on her and turned my phone off for the rest of the night. I didn't want to hear another word about it. Mom is furious. She told me that if I keep acting like this, I'm not welcome at the wedding. As if I even wanted to go in the first place. It's like they're all living in some kind of alternate reality where I'm the villain in this story, and Brad and Amanda are the star-crossed lovers who've been unfairly persecuted by me. I'm starting to wonder if I'll ever get out of this house. It's like quicksand. The harder I try to break free, the more I get sucked back in. Update 3. The fallout from the whole invitation incident has been hanging over the house like a storm cloud. Every time I walk into a room, it's like they're all waiting for me to explode again. Like they think I'm some ticking time bomb, just waiting to go off. Mom's been giving me the silent treatment, which would almost be a relief if it didn't feel like she was punishing me with her self-righteous silence. The way she clinks her coffee cup just a little too loudly, the exaggerated sighs every time I pass her by, it's all designed to make me feel like I'm the crazy one. I know what they're all thinking. They think I've lost my mind, and maybe in some ways I have. Living like this, in this constant state of tension, with my own family treating me like I'm some kind of toxic outcast, it messes with your head. Amanda's been quiet since her little tantrum over the phone, which is somehow worse than when she's yelling. The silence feels calculated, like she's waiting for me to crawl back to her, apologize for not falling in line, and being the dutiful sister she expects me to be. But that's not going to happen. I did something I didn't think I'd have the guts to do. I started looking for places to move out, seriously this time. I've been browsing rental listings like a woman possessed, scrolling through overpriced shoebox apartments that I can barely afford. I don't care. I don't care if I end up in a crappy one-room dump on the other side of town. I just need to get out of this house, out from under their judgmental eyes. Living here, every single day feels like I'm suffocating. Like they're squeezing the life out of me with their expectations and their whispers and their constant, unspoken disappointment. But of course, nothing in my life is ever that simple. A few days ago, Amanda came down to my basement apartment. She never comes down here. This space is like the physical embodiment of everything she hates. Small, cluttered, not perfect like her spotless life. But there she was, knocking on my door like she had something important to say. I opened it, half expecting her to launch into another tirade about how I was ruining everything by not playing along with her wedding fantasy. But she didn't. She sat down on my old, beat-up couch and looked around like she was seeing my life for the first time. And then she dropped the bombshell. She said, with this weird, detached calm, that she didn't mean to take Brad from me. That he left me because, in her words, I was too emotional and too unpredictable. That maybe if I had been more stable, more like her, he wouldn't have had to leave. But now he was happy with her. He had found the right person. I think she actually believed she was doing me some kind of favor by telling me this. Like she was offering me some kind of twisted closure. But all I felt in that moment was this overwhelming, white-hot rage. I could feel it bubbling up, threatening to spill over. And it took everything in me not to scream at her. Because that was it. That was the truth I'd been trying to avoid. The truth I'd known deep down, but didn't want to admit. She did think she was better than me. She thought she was the reason Brad had chosen her. That her perfection was what he needed. And my imperfections were what pushed him away. I told her to leave. I didn't yell, didn't scream. I just told her very calmly to get the hell out of my space. And she did. She walked out of my basement apartment with that same smug, self-satisfied look she always has when she thinks she's won. But she hasn't won. Not really. Because here's the thing. I'm done. I'm done playing the role of the messed up older sister who can't get her life together. I'm done letting them make me feel like I'm the one who's screwed up, like I'm the one who needs to apologize for the fact that they've been gaslighting me for years. I've spent my whole life trying to be what they wanted me to be, trying to make myself small enough, quiet enough, good enough to fit into their perfect little world. But I'm not doing that anymore. Update 4. I told my parents I'm moving out. For real this time. I found a tiny, rundown studio apartment about 20 minutes away from their house. It's not much. Honestly, it's kind of a dump. The walls are this awful, peeling yellow color, and the bathroom looks like it hasn't been updated since the 70s. But it's mine, and that's all that matters. When I told my mom, she just stared at me like she couldn't believe what I was saying. I think she's been so used to having me here, stuck in this basement, that she couldn't even comprehend the idea of me actually leaving. She kept saying things like, "But what about Amanda's wedding? You need to be here for the family. You can't just leave now." Like the only reason I exist is to be some kind of emotional punching bag for Amanda's big day. She tried to guilt trip me, saying how much it would mean to Amanda if I were there to support her, how I needed to put the past behind me and be the bigger person. I told her flat out that I'm done being the bigger person, that I don't owe this family anything anymore. And for the first time in years, I actually felt free. Like this weight I've been carrying around on my shoulders finally lifted. I don't have to be the person they want me to be. I don't have to sit around and pretend that everything's okay, that I'm okay, while they all go on living their perfect little lives. Amanda didn't take the news well. She texted me this long, rambling message about how I'm being selfish, how I'm abandoning the family right when they need me the most. Like I'm some kind of traitor for wanting to get the hell out of this toxic mess. I didn't bother responding. I don't have the energy for it anymore. And then, because the universe apparently loves to kick me when I'm down, Brad called. Yeah, that's right, Brad freaking called me. He said he wanted to clear the air before the wedding, that he didn't like how things ended between us. As if that's something I should give a shit about anymore. I listened to him ramble on about how he wishes we could be on better terms, how he regrets how things went down. I could feel my blood boiling the entire time. But instead of blowing up at him like I wanted to, I just told him the truth. I told him I didn't care. I told him that I don't need closure, that I don't need to be on good terms with him, and that the only thing I want from him is for him to stay the hell out of my life. Then I hung up, and that was it. I don't know if it was the right thing to do, but it felt like a turning point. Like I was finally standing up for myself, refusing to let him or Amanda or anyone else dictate how I should feel or act. Update 5. The move finally happened, and let me tell you, it wasn't exactly smooth. My parents acted like I was abandoning them in their hour of need, even though I'd been the one stuck in their house for years, playing by their rules. Mom tried one last time to convince me to stay, giving me this long, guilt-trippy speech about how family is everything and how I need to forgive and forget. I told her, in no uncertain terms, that I'm done being part of a family that treats me like a doormat. And that was the end of that. Dad didn't say much. He never does. He just sat in his recliner, watching some football game, pretending like nothing was happening. Part of me wonders if he even cared that I was leaving, or if he was just relieved that there'd be one less person adding to the drama. But the real kicker came when I was halfway through packing up my stuff. Mom came downstairs, all stiff and awkward, and she told me that Dad had been talking to Brad behind my back. Apparently, Dad thinks Brad's a good guy and that I should make peace with him before the wedding. Can you believe that? My own dad, the man who barely acknowledges my existence, thinks I should just forgive the guy who broke my heart and ran off with my sister. That was the final straw. I told her, very calmly, that I'm not going to the wedding, that I'm not going to pretend everything's fine just to make them feel better. I told her I don't owe them my presence, my forgiveness, or my silence. And then I finished packing and left. Update 6. The wedding happened. I wasn't there. Apparently, it was perfect. Amanda looked like a princess, Brad was the perfect groom, and Mom cried tears of joy the entire time. At least, that's what I've been told. They sent me photos because apparently they thought I'd want to see them. I didn't open the attachments. I deleted the messages without a second thought. I thought I might feel some kind of regret, some kind of lingering sadness about not being there, about missing my sister's big day. But I didn't. All I felt was relief. Relief that I didn't have to sit through it, that I didn't have to plaster on a fake smile and pretend like everything was okay. Because it's not, and it never will be. I haven't spoken to my family since the wedding. I'm sure they're pissed. I'm sure they're sitting around, talking about how selfish I am, how dramatic I've been. But I don't care. Let them talk. Let them say whatever they want. I'm done caring about what they think. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm living for myself. No more playing the role they've written for me. No more pretending. Just me. Final update. It's been a month since the wedding, and I'm finally starting to feel like I've reclaimed my life. The apartment's tiny, and yeah, it's still a bit of a dump, but it's mine. I'm working a new job now. Not glamorous, but it pays better than the grocery store, and I'm slowly building up some savings. I've started going out more, meeting new people, trying to figure out who I am outside of my family's shadow. Amanda and I haven't spoken since the wedding, and honestly, I'm fine with that. Maybe one day we'll talk again, but for now, I need space. I need time to figure out who I am without all the drama weighing me down. As for Brad, well, good luck to him. He's Amanda's problem now. I'm finally free of that entire mess, and I've never felt lighter. Thanks, Reddit, for sticking with me through all of this. It's been a wild ride, but I'm finally in a place where I can start moving forward. And that's all I've ever wanted.